Whenever somebody asks, what's the best payload map in TF2, what's the first thing you think of? Upward, Badwater, Barn Blitz? Well, in this little topic that I put together, we will talk about Borneo. Sorry, that song's just really catchy. We're gonna talk about Borneo, the most epic, yet not as talked about payload maps I've ever seen. Let's go.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time till touchdown brings me round again to find.
First things first, let's talk about how this wonderful map first started and how it got to where it is today. On May 9th, 2011, Borneo was released to TF2maps.net, created by Sean Catino and Matt Leahy. They both have really cute animal pictures. Later on, it was released to the workshop the day TF2 started to accept maps on June 2nd, 2015. The map was just one of those things where you could play for yourself to see if it was good enough to make it into the game at the time. And surely enough, it was good enough. Exactly a month later, in June 2nd, 2015, when Gunmetal came out, Borneo officially made it into the game. Only had a few little patches for those little exploits to get fixed. But that's pretty much the whole story of Borneo. Yeah, pretty long story short, I know. Anyway, Borneo is actually not only my favorite payload map, but overall my personal favorite TF2 map of all time. It just has a very unique design and gameplay that I just adore over all the other TF2 maps. And I would think that someone out there has a desired love for this map just as much as I do. Yet, I don't see a lot of people talking about it so much. Now that's not to say it's an underrated map. I mean, people obviously knows it exists. Like, it's there in Uncletopia, and people are playing on it. So yeah, it's not like people hate this map or anything. Some competitive players really enjoy Borneo, and that's honestly something that makes me happy.
Sort of tempted to move this one up to S tier. If payload's an S tier game type, it should have some S tier maps. And I would say Borneo could be S tier.
The thing is though, I just have yet to see anybody actually talking about it. Now who am I to complain? My favorite map of all time is actually in the game, and there are players playing on it. Unlike some maps that people just don't pay attention to, get too much hate, or have just been abandoned and never been finished.
Help me!
Man, that really would have been awesome to see that map be official. Now I'm gonna be as fair as possible. Usually the first thing people think about when it comes to TF2 maps are the ones that are just iconic, even the bad ones. We got Upward, Badwater, 2-4, Turbine, Harvest, Final Destination, Grandma's House, so many more classic maps that are just too hard to forget. These maps are just so iconic that they are usually the first to come to mind when asked about TF2 maps. And not a lot of the newer maps in general get talked about in comparison. The only new map I can pretty much think of that gets talked about a decent amount is Mercenary Park. But that's mainly due to the fact that it was one of the last major update maps added to the game that had a lot of mixed feelings. But Borneo is a map nobody really talks about so much, unless they're actually playing on it. So I figured to give my take. Why is Borneo my favorite map? What makes it so unique to me compared to the other maps? And why do I just get excited whenever this map is next on the queue? Yes! Now a fun fact about me is that I'm actually a really big fan of cloudy and cold weather, in case you didn't tell. And I just adore maps that are winter or cloudy themed, and Borneo's weather is just the perfect weather to adore, and it just makes me want to roam around the map because of it. Speaking of which, I just love the design choice the developers put into this map. You have many places to go. You have many sniper and building spots, flank routes, a place to build your Uber, decloak areas, getaway areas, and many more just to choose from. And the best part is, if you fail at these spots, it doesn't feel so one-sided all the time. You can learn from your mistakes and try another spot that nobody would even think about checking. And it can help you and your teammates in every way, regardless if you're on red or blue. When it comes to other maps, I usually end up playing Soldier all the time. There will be a few games where I'll switch to another class, either because I just feel like it, or if I just think it'll be a better way of playing the game. With Borneo, however, this map makes me want to play with all the classes because I just feel like this is one of those maps where I can have fun playing each class. I'll play Bonk Scout to get past those sentries and take out a good amount of the enemy team. And I'll play Uber Medic just so I could help carry the very last point and win the game. And the list goes on. I've just had way too much fun with Borneo. And words cannot describe how many times I've queued up for this map, only because I've just had nights where I feel like only playing it. But just like every so-called perfect TF2 map, Borneo has its downsides as well. As somebody who mains Soldier, I am not a big fan of the rollouts of this map. I find the walls a little too close to each other that I end up accidentally hitting my head on them many times. If I'm going to be honest, Borneo, in my opinion, has one of the most hardest rollouts in rocket jumping, at least for me personally. If you end up doing great on your first try, you deserve a freaking medal, cause I sure as hell can't. Now, of course I love maps like Upward and Badwater as well. I mean, who doesn't? But mainly one of the reasons for liking those maps is because the rollouts are just so easy to me that I just get better and better each time, and I don't have to worry so much about hitting my head. Borneo, on the other hand, I'm gonna have to keep practicing for a really long time if I want to get better. I mean, really all I can do is just this ramp slide, and that's pretty much it. Another thing I'm going to be quite honest about is that Borneo is not really good for players who just got into the game. I think Borneo is one of those maps that could be a bit too confusing for new players, mainly because it's a pretty big map and there's a lot of new places to go. Yeah, like I said before, you can just roam around to get a better picture of the map and know where to go, but POV, you're a new player, and let's admit, we all pretty much played first time maps the moment we queued for them without observing and just said YOLO. So, if I were to make a recommendation to new players who just got into the game and are gonna queue for Borneo, I would play a few rounds of the easier maps first before getting in there, and then I would come in when I think it's time. But what do I know? I'm no map expert. I could be totally wrong and there will be a new player top scoring, absolutely humiliating all of us.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Hey, look at me! Look at me! I did it! Look at this. Just caved in your skull. My bat's still dry. No clumps of hair. Nothing.
So what's left to say about Borneo? Well, it's a good map. That's all I can really say. Now again, Borneo is not really underrated. It's just more underappreciated, really. And that's why I wanted to get my take on it, to spread some love to my favorite map of all time and hopefully encourage players watching this video to give it a try themselves, so that they can get a chance to appreciate it more. Whether that they recently got into the game, or that they've been playing it for many years. And if you love Borneo just as much as I do, good on ya, don't stop playing it. And if you don't like Borneo and are just not a big fan of it, then go play another map that'll make you have fun. Cause everyone's got their own cup of tea and that's just fine. Overall, even though it's a little hard to play Soldier on sometimes, Borneo is and will continue to be my favorite map in the game. But what's your opinion on Borneo? Do you agree with the points I made? Comment down below along with your favorite TF2 map. I would love to hear what it is and why. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and follow me on Twitter at RocketmanFran. Yes, with 2 N's. And feel free to follow me on Twitch, as well as joining my Discord server. Thank you all very much for watching. Y'all take care and I'll see you in the next vid. Peace!